Have you ever heard of Whizbang, Oklahoma? Few people have. It's a ghost town now, but back in the 20s, Whizbang was a thriving part of Osage County. Liz Exon found an Oklahoma author who's bringing Whizbang back to life in print.
Author Molly Griffiths of Norman is polishing off the last few paragraphs of her book, Welcome to Whizbang, Ruby Trotter. Griffiths says the idea for the book began many years ago after she heard the song You Got Trouble in the musical The Music Man.
Is he starting to memorize jokes from Captain Billy's Whizbang?
Are they telling jokes from Captain Billy's Whizbang? And I thought, that is such, I love that musical, and I've seen it probably 100 times, and I thought, what is Captain Billy's Whizbang?
Captain Billy's Whizbang was the name of joke books considered naughty in the early 1900s. The author was a soldier in World War I.
That's what he called it, because in the war, the bombs would come in and they'd go whiz-bang when they got there in World War I. So this was where he got the whiz-bang.
While doing more research, Molly discovered there was once a town in Osage County called Whizbang.
Now, when they did Whizbang, Oklahoma, the people there said the oil well blew in, and before it blew, it'd go chugga-chugga-chugga, shh, whiz-bang.
This is what Whizbang looked like after oil and gas was discovered there.
And found out that the real Whizbang was in existence from 1921 to 1941, 20 years only. It blew in with a Marlin oil well on New Year's Eve of 21.
The postmaster thought an Indian name was more dignified for the town.
And so they said, okay, we'll name it Denoya. So they named it that, but the people wanted Whizbang. You know, they were oil field workers, and Whizbang was a fun name.
Whizbang is on one map Molly discovered. She also found an obituary that names Whizbang as a birthplace. Molly went to Osage County. She met 97-year-old Edna Callahan of Pawhuska. Edna remembers fishing in a creek not too far from Whizbang.
Is Whizbang closer to Scheidler than it is to Pawhuska?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
A remote road sign is the only indication of where the town once stood. Molly says you can't find the remains of chimneys because there were none. Residents heated their homes with gas delivered by the Marlin Oil Company. Down the road, Molly meets Jim Jakes. He still lives in the house where he was born in 1933 when Whizbang was starting to die.
Which of these rooms was you born in?
Right there.
That one right there, this front one. Okay.
Inside, Jim shows Molly two rare pictures of Whizbang in its heyday.
They said there were 300 businesses here at one time.
I bet there was. No.
And 10,000 people.
But the school sat right here.
Okay, the school was here. Was it one story, two story?
It's a one story.
There were hotels, restaurants, banks, even a brothel. Jim says he can't repeat some of what he heard about Whizbang because what went on in this town of roustabouts was just too racy.
It was a wild town.
They said women couldn't get out on the street after dark.
All right, see, women couldn't get out on the street. But this guy that I met who grew up in one of these little towns said that in the 20s, some guy struck it rich, and he had lots of money. And he said, I'm going to have a race, and the prize will be $500. And somebody said, well, to be in the race, what do you have to do? And he said, you have to be a woman, and you have to run naked. Did you ever hear about that?
I've heard a little bit about it, yeah.
Molly is pleased to have the story confirmed.
I'm writing a book about Whizbang, and I have a lady in there who's 91 years old, and she ran in that race, see, and she loves to talk about that race because she ran in it and she didn't win.
Jim also said law enforcement was not on the up and up in those days.
He'd steal a car and hide it.
The law
And then he'd
would
put up
steal a car.
He'd put up a reward for it, and then he'd go find it for him.
Molly's fictional book, Welcome to Whizbang, Ruby Trotter, starts in 1964. She weaves the town's history into the story. Ruby arrives in Whizbang driving a 1964 poppy red Mustang and sets the town talking.
She gets there and she puts up her sign and it says, unisex hair, designing and care. Well, the Baptists in Whizbang don't know what unisex means.
Ruby does more than change people's hairstyles. She transforms their lives.
I think it's funny. I laugh. My friends laugh when they read it.
Molly has high hopes her colorful prose will someday end up in a movie.
Actually, this is the style I've been dreaming about, Lila D. replied as she unfolded a Life magazine cover with Anne Margaret's picture on it. Her hand shook as she handed the cover to Ruby. Would you make me come out looking like this?